This is a very, very important issue in many dimensions. 15 to 20% of all climate emissions originate from destruction of rainforest. So if we want to be successful in combating climate change, we must reduce emissions from forest destruction. Indonesia is the third biggest emitter in the world after China and the United States, if you include deforestation in the climate emission account. We signed a letter with the Government of Indonesia, so-called letter of intent, in the presence of our Prime Minister and President Yudhoyono, signed by Foreign Minister Maite and myself. The idea is that Norway will provide assistance to Indonesians' effort to conserve and sustainably use the rainforest. We will not want to be involved in exactly how this will be done. Indonesia will design the path, decide what to be done, and we will supply assistance on the basis of produced results. So the result-based, if deforestation goes down, Norway will provide money. If it does not go down, we will not provide assistance. That's exactly the scheme we have also developed with Brazil and Guyana, a small Latin American nation. In the meantime, we are supporting the establishment of monitoring and verification systems, of competence building, we are supporting a new pilot province, which will be Central Kalimantan, where we're going tomorrow. So we will, in the meantime, support competence building, but the main bulk of the money will be available when de facto deforestation goes down, and that is verified by international system of verification. Today there are two, from our perspective, very positive news. One is that the President has issued an overall policy as to how Indonesia will combat climate change. That makes Indonesia, and President Yudhoyono in particular, a world leader in this regard. At a time when there have been some negative news from climate talks, the positive is that many nations are doing a lot back home, domestically. And what the President has done today is a very positive step in making Indonesia a world leader in the fight against climate change. Also, one controversial decree, which was made some negative comments and debate in the media, where palm oil plantation was to be recognized as forest. This decree is revoked by the Minister of Forestry. The Minister just told me a few minutes back. That's also, from our perspective, a positive news. Tomorrow there is a seminar which will be opened by the President, but I will also speak at the opening, bringing together business, media, non-government organizations, everyone with an interest in the conservation of and sustainable use of the forest. To me, the main issue there is to find the path for Indonesia which makes certain that economic growth can continue, rapid economic growth, rapid economic development, while at the same time conserving and sustainably using the forest. That can be done. Again, Brazil has over the last 7-8 years reduced deforestation with 70% without any negative impact on economic growth whatsoever. To the contrary, Brazil has had very impressive economic growth while conserving the forest. This is a huge issue. It's not a small issue for Indonesia. It's a huge issue which will transform Indonesian society over the next years and decades. So I don't see this as delays. Okay. It's absolutely normal. And we are completely satisfied that all the groundwork has been done. The moratorium is in place. The task force headed by Kunturo is giving the proper role. So I'm not worried with that. Always in politics also, direction is the most important, and direction is positive. We expect, the other question, we expect to be able to pay results-based in 2014. The time up to that will be to establish the systems for Indonesia to show that deforestation can go down, and then compensation will follow. We want to support Indonesia's policies. I mean, we do not want to be involved in devising exactly what strategy which should be followed in Indonesia, or for that matter in Brazil, because we believe that Indonesia knows much better how to do this in Indonesia, as well as Brazil will know much better how it's done in Brazil. But there are a few issues. Of course, there must be the highest standard for anti-corruption measures. That's we cannot use Norwegian taxpayers' money for anything where there is not very high standards for that. And secondly, there must be a consultation process with indigenous peoples. But except for that, whether Indonesia wants to use money for agriculture projects or for industrial projects or for that matter for road building or clinics or schools, again that's up to Indonesia. We will not want to decide that. But on corruption, anti-corruption measures, there must be the highest global standards for financial management. But let me also add that this is not specific for our forestry relationship with Indonesia. This is what we apply in every nation where we spend Norwegian money. I cannot go back to Norway to tell the people that I'm loose on this matter. Then there will be a very negative reaction. There must be the strictest standards, and we see in our own work, whenever there is corruption, that is theft. Then someone is stealing money, which should be used for the poor people, for putting into their own pockets, and it's not acceptable, and we have a no tolerance policy for that. But that's not only in Indonesia. If it was China, the United States, Africa, wherever, we would have exactly the same policies. Up to now, only a small amount has been handed over to Indonesia. Approximately, I think, 30 million US dollars. So it's just a tiny fraction of what we have promised, which is 1 billion US dollars. And that's because the main bulk of the money will only come when as a result-based compensation for de facto deforestation. So we expect that to come from about 2014. In the process up to that, we will establish the pilot province and all the monitoring and verification systems, the competence building, competence and training centers, all that. But still, that is relatively small money compared to the result-based money. This is exactly a mirror image of what is happening with Brazil. Also in Brazil, where there has been an enormous reduction of the de facto deforestation, still most of the money has not yet been paid because it comes afterwards as a result of good policies. Let me just at the end mention one issue which you have not brought up, maybe because you are too polite, but which has figured in some media articles, and that is the idea that Norway is supporting Indonesia as a kind of offset rather than doing our homework. Just to clarify that is not at all the case. We do not get any carbon credits or anything from our support for Indonesia. That's completely additional. So we are in the process of establishing a national policy for national climate reductions. Adding to that, we are offsetting within the European Union with China and a number of other places, but there is no offset whatsoever from the conservation of and sustainable use of rainforests. Because we are somewhat informed by our experience with Brazil, because that partnership was established earlier. if anyone had gone to Brazil 7 years back and said, hello, please reduce the deforestation rate with 70%, frankly, that guy or lady would have been kicked out as some strange environmentalist without any understanding of economics. But the Brazilians under President Lula has shown that they could do it without any harm to the economy, so that provides a shining example to everyone. Norway is a small part of that, because though very little Norwegian money has actually been paid up to now, because of the result-based systems, the promise of money has made a huge impact on Brazil. And the same we hope to happen here, though two nations will never be equal, but still there are lots of similarities. And as in Brazil, there is a huge debate there also. I mean, there is a new forest code debated in the Senate. Maybe it will be rejected by the president. So it's a lot of debate about these issues, but that's normal. We do have a lot of controversies back home on environmentally related issues. I tend to believe that within our government, most of the controversies we have in our government is in one way or the other about the environment. So that's normal, but you cannot stop moving ahead, though there will be hiccups, controversies, different views.